Hey, yo, what up there, everybody? It's Coach Shaw back again. Got a very special guest with me, intern coach at Barry University. He was the former head coach at Palmetto Senior High School. To be associate head coach at Barry University. He's also a JV coach at Goldman and assistant coach at Gables. One of the biggest pioneers in South Florida. He's helping with the Miami Hoops Academy. Actually, he's the owner of the Miami Hoops Academy. Orlando Gonzalez, how you doing, my brother?
Good, Coach. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm glad to be on your show, and look forward to talking basketball with you guys.
Yeah, man, we talking hoops, man. Like, I know that you have your Miami Hoops Academy, and you have a lot of very good kids, very good talented kids in there, and you get them from from the South Florida, some of the South Miami area. But we know about that, and we're gonna get more information on that. But let's talk about you. Let's talk about what you have done in the community. You know what I'm saying? And as far as you being a basketball player, basketball coach, let everybody know who you are.
Yeah, man. I'm a Miami kid. Grew up right by Miami International Airport, and I used to go to a park called Grapeland Park, and since I was 9 years old, I was always at the park shooting hoops. We played different sports. But by the time I was 10 years old, man, I just fell in love with playing basketball, and I kind of went all in, and I was always at the park playing. And then I was lucky enough to really jump on board with a really good coach in middle school, where we started playing a little bit of travel, and we'd play in Miami and in different places. As a matter of fact, my middle school coach was a guy named John Goebel, and his sons. He has two sons who actually are referees in the NBA. And he coached me in middle school, and then I went out to play at Miami High JV. And as a matter of fact, my business partner at Miami Hoops was my JV basketball coach at Miami High, and that was around 1993 through 95. So I've been around, man. Played at Miami High for 2 years, and then I went to Coral Park for a couple of years. Got recruited to play at St. Thomas University. So I was mentioning to you yesterday that I spent 2 years at St. Thomas University, and then they dropped the program when I was there. They didn't have the beautiful facilities that you guys have now. We used to practice at Pace. We used to practice and play at Miami-Dade North. So when they dropped the program, I got lucky enough to be able to go to UM. My mother had started working there, and I was able to get a good deal, and ended up playing at UM my last 2 years of college.
That's awesome, man. You went to St. Thomas University. What do you think of an elite camp yesterday, man?
Coach, it was great, and I was able to get a bunch of my eighth graders to compete, and it was good for them because a lot of those kids had not done a showcase before. So I wanted them to see what a college campus looks like. You guys did a phenomenal job giving the tour of the school, and talking to the kids about academics and recruiting and all the things that it takes to really make it to the college level. And I don't think people realize how good the players are at that level, because I played there and I coached at Barry University. So it's very, very tough competition. A lot of really good players want to go to these schools.
Yeah, man. It's a tough. I mean, you got to be really good to play at St. Thomas, man. And I want to shout out our head coach, Zach Moss, man, who brought me on this year. Fantastic coach, man. I'm gonna say this because I know you went to St. Thomas, so I'm gonna bring up little St. Thomas conversations. Zach is a genius, man. And as far as I know we 10-16 last year, didn't have a good year. I'm not there to save the show. Zach is already had most everything aligned already when I came through the door. You know what I'm saying? Probably, you know what I'm saying, one or two recruits, you know what I'm saying, that I brought in or whatever. But he's a genius, man. He's gonna have a great career at St. Thomas, man. I'm lucky to be, you know what I'm saying, led by such a wonderful head coach. But St. Thomas is on the map, man. But enough about that. Let's talk about your camps, man. How'd you get this camp started? I know you guys got a big program, got a lot of how many kids you got in the program as well?
Before we jump into that,
Mhm.
and I'll tell you that when I played at St. Thomas University, I played for a coach named Bill Sullivan. Bill
Okay.
Sullivan was a longtime coach at Coral Gables High School, and he's one of these guys that really I learned a lot from.
Mhm.
Um, Great guy, great person, really good coach. He ended up being the head coach for the Barry University women's program. So he was my coach there, and during that time that I was there, I had teammates like Mike Bellato, who's the athletic director at Miami-Dade College, Maurice Troop, who's the athletic director at Central, Casey
Mhm.
Cullens, who's the head coach there, George Montez, who's the girls basketball coach at Palmer Trinity. So you're going to see as I get into Miami hoops, it's all based on the connections that I've made playing at all these different places, and these are people that I'm still very connected with.
Man, you got a lot of good relationships. I know all those guys. All those are good guys, man. Hopefully they come in and they support St. Thomas as well. But I like George Montez does a good job. He's at I know he had his daughter too at Palmer Trinity.
She's at
Um
Columbia
uh
University now.
yeah, man. How's she doing this way? She do well this year? Last year? I know she was a freshman last
Good,
year.
good. Yeah, she had a knee injury, but she's doing well. And
Mhm.
just circling back to the camps, I started running my own camps in 2006, along with my
Okay.
business partner Art Cabrera, who was the boys coach at Barbara Goldman for 17 years. So we've been
Mhm.
doing it together since 2006, and we did it
Mhm.
for at Barbara Goldman for a couple years. We did it at
Mhm.
Matter Academy. We did it for about 9 years. And then in 2017, I was able to get the to start doing it at iMatter. They've been great
Mhm.
to me, and iMatter has allowed us to really um, be able to not only do the summer camp, but we have a year-round program where
Mhm.
we do a lot of skill development, and now we have 11 travel teams in total.
Wow. Talk about the travel program. How many would you like to have overall as far as like I know you got 11 travel teams. Can you do 20? Can you do 30? Can you do that many numbers?
Man, it's tough because you're trying to do two things. You're trying to be really, really competitive, but I'm also trying to bring in the right type of kids. So it's very tough. I think 11 is about the cap of what we're looking to do, and we do have different levels. Like we do have some teams that are really can compete at the national level. We have a couple teams that are just getting their feet wet with transitioning into competitive basketball, and we just added a couple teams that I think are more on the rec side, but I call it transition teams that are looking to go from rec and be able to transition to really competing locally in these tournaments because it's not easy to compete early on if you get a brand new team and kids don't understand what travel ball is, and you get some of these teams that are really stacked up and they'll before you're down by 30, 40 points. So I don't want to put a team out there and put them in those situations, but we have built it up where most of our teams can really compete, not only locally, but we do have a good number of teams that can go to national tournaments and really really compete at that level.
What are some of the things that for young coaches, as far as like travel coaches, what are some things that you have done as being a travel coach that can help them? What words can you do say to help them build their programs just like yours?
Well, I think first of all, I had an amazing mentor. Probably the number one guy that's been really influential when it comes to coaching and business is Caesar Odio, who was my mentor, and
Mm,
he's the person that I worked for at Barry for 7 years. So I learned so much from him. I think he was an amazing coach, an amazing person, and then the way he did things, he ran camps too. He ran one of the most
mm,
legendary camps with the Go All Pro camp with Willie Guardiola. So I used to work
mhm,
those camps. I started off working his camp. I would work at the University of Miami camp, and everybody kept putting me on as a director early on in my early 20s. So that's why, by 2006, I said, well, maybe how about I do this myself, and I can, this can be a way to start my own business, and partnering up with Coach Cabrera, we've
mhm,
been doing it together, and I think we've had one of the most successful camps. And camp is great because he was
mhm,
coaching high school and I was coaching college, but I love to coach, and when I stopped coaching high school and college, My son was old enough around 2017 where I started a team for him, and he was in first grade, and I'm coaching a second grade team. And, we went from one team to two to four, and we just kept growing in terms of the number of teams that we had. But I started really doing it for my son. But if I had to give advice to young coaches, just find somebody that's really good at doing it and shadow them for 1 or 2, maybe 3 years, and learn as much as you can. And then, hit the books. Early on when it comes to coaching, I read a lot of books. I watched a lot of videos. One of the guys that was very influential was I used to watch all the Don Meyer videos. Don Meyer is one of the most legendary coaches. He coached NAIA for many years. And when I was like 22, I had a box of DVDs, and back then it was tapes. And I just love to watch tapes. And every year, June, July, August, I'm hitting up videos. I'm watching stuff, and I'm thinking about what I want to run with my team going into the next year. And I enjoy doing that. You just got to constantly be a student of the game and learn as much as you can, and try to watch stuff on really good coaches, study the really good ones, and then I just it's nonstop learning.
I always tell coaches out here, especially the veterans, man, like the college is very complex. It's more than just one thing you have to do on a day-to-day basis. But as far as on the basketball sense, I learned a lot of stuff from veteran coaches, like some like yourself, some like Lawton, like Chachi Rodriguez, all those guys, man. You always take something from everybody else. Now, when you're doing your camps, I see on a lot of photos you have a lot of local coaches that help you. Talk about those local coaches and those connections that they have made with your program.
Well, for example, yesterday you were talking to Eric Van Cott, and Eric was coaching our camps before his kids were born. And that's what people don't realize. We have these connections with people before their kids were even born. We had these relationships, and it just so happens that Eric now has a daughter, Vanessa, who plays at Matter Lakes, and she's phenomenal. She's going to be a big time player. Her brother Nolan is now a ninth grader at Matter. He's phenomenal. But we have a big family of people, but I've been lucky that just our connections over the years and people that I've known for 15, 20, 25 years, they love to work camp, or now, their kids old enough to play travel and they're into basketball, and now they're willing to come on and coach. And it's a big family, and I'm really good friends with all my coaches, and we love to communicate on a weekly basis and talk basketball, talk X's and O's, talk about how to deal with parents. But we just, we're a community of people that, love basketball. We love coaching our kids, and we're it's not just about our kid. We want parents, but it's all the coaches. You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, so basically, just to be team coaches, to really just and we do have that. We have probably one of the most amazing coaching staffs of when it comes down to travel. I only coach my son's team, and now I just took up another 8th grade team that I'm coaching. But every team has their own coach, and every team has at least one assistant.
That's amazing. With having so many teams and having so many kids and having so many parents, what are some of the challenges that you have? When you have coming into that program, you just went blank on me for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got you back.
What are some of the challenges that you got as far as like when you're running so many teams? You have parents with problems, and then what are some of the motivation? What keeps you motivated despite those challenges? You know what I'm saying? What is something that keep you? Because I know when you're dealing with a lot of parents, dealing with a lot of kids, you're dealing with a lot of egos, and everybody wants to thrive to be great. Talk about that.
Well, it starts with having a really good head coach. If I don't have a really good head coach to spearhead that team, I don't do the team. So it starts with that. If I have somebody lined up that's willing to take that challenge and spearhead that team, the head coach is 80%. And then I can come in from behind and, kind of support and help and supervise and advise. But there's a lot of communication with coaches on a weekly basis. I'm talking to coaches all the time. I know what's going on with all my teams, but they have to spearhead it. And then there's communication with parents, and you hope that you bring in good people. You try to let them know what the culture is, let them know how we do things. And then sometimes, there's parents that, they buy in and they're amazing, and everything goes great. And there are some times that you'll get people that are a little bit too selfish. And then, you might have some issues and you clash. And sometimes, those people don't end up staying in our program. So, we've been really good, especially when you look at some of our top teams. We're very, very competitive, but it's had to be with the right people. And it's had to be situations where, certain people have had to go if they're not about the team, and if they're not willing to be on board with our culture and the way that we do things. But we do have, like I said, I think, we do a good job directing and supervising, but it really, the head coach is the most important person. I can help a really good head coach, but they gotta spearhead it, and it's a partnership. I have a partnership with every single one of our coaches, and we're pretty much on the same page for the most part. And
Yeah, coach. So talk about some of the coaches that coach with you. Talk about the coaches that some of the veteran coaches that helped you get to the way you are as far as in your program right now.
okay, well, number one, I mentioned before that I played at Miami High. So
Yeah.
playing at Miami High, even though I played JV for 2 years, but I
Hmm.
started to see what a championship program looks like. And you got to give a lot
Hmm.
of credit to Coach Shaky Rodriguez. When I was there, he was the varsity coach. This was before he went to FIU, and his son Eric
Hmm.
actually works with us at times, running. He works our camps, and he comes in and works out some of our kids sometimes. So we talk all the time. But his dad obviously has had a tremendous influence on a lot of coaches. Frank
Hmm.
Martin, who's at UMass, and Anthony Grant, who's at Dayton. But I was there as a JV player, and I saw what a championship program was. So it started there. You start to see what it takes to really have a good program, and then obviously playing for at the University of Miami, you see what the Division 1 level is, and the preparation and everything that goes into it. My junior year, we were able to go to the
Hmm.
Sweet 16. So you're talking about a legendary coach in Leonard Hamilton, and having an amazing staff. One of his assistant coaches was just a genius. Stan Jones was an
Hmm.
amazing X's and O's coach. So I learned a lot from all these guys. It's a number of guys that I spent time with and I learned from, and it's a combination of everything I learned from these guys.
Let's talk about the kids that's in your program now. And first of all, let's start with this. Let's not start with the kids in your program. Talk about some kids, some area kids that's playing actually right now in college, in high school, that has some success that's in your program. And then talk about the kids that are in your program now that are thriving, that we should definitely, as a group, as far as rankings, as far as exposure, that we should be looking out for.
Well, I started with the little guys. I did it the opposite way. I started with, first, second, third grade. And then as the years went on, we started getting the older kids. Most programs are going to start with the older kids and then trickle down. So I have kids like here at Palmetto, Sanfrey Sarante and his brother Juju Sarante, who are here at Palmetto High School where I teach. And now, I'm starting to get a lot of my kids get into high school. And,
Mm-hmm.
Sanfrey's having a lot of success. He's a junior. I think he's going to end up being one of the top players in the county.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I have a couple kids going into Belen that played with me last year as eighth graders. And Brian Caballero, who's at Belen, he's a freshman. His dad's an assistant coach there, Angel. I think he just actually got first offer from FAMU, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
I think FAMU was kind of looking at him already as a freshman, and Nolan Van Cod, who's ninth grader. At your camp yesterday at St. Thomas was a kid named James Logan, who's at Doral, who I think did really
Mm-hmm.
well. Really
Mm-hmm.
strong kid, and he's probably
Man,
going to start as a sophomore at Doral.
get to the
He was in our
basket.
program for several years. Yeah, he's tough. And then we have another kid at Matter named Juan Maldonado. So there's a lot of high school kids. And then, like I mentioned to you, the sisters of the kids. I have my assistant coach, his daughter plays at Miami Country Day, Alyssa Hill.
Mm-hmm.
She's a junior at Miami Country Day, where they have a phenomenal program there. So we have a lot of kids and their siblings who've been in the program. They're part of the family. And now they're getting into high school and they're starting to make
Mm-hmm.
some noise.
A lot of those kids are um are having a lot of success, especially the Palmetto kid, Sanfrey. Man, that
Yeah,
kid's really good. He's a very good versatile player, man, that plays inside, outside, but he's a very good shooter, man, and also plays the point. So I'm looking
yeah.
forward to get a chance to go over to Palmetto practice and seeing those guys, man. It's always gonna remind me of you guys. Um who's your This is a question, okay? This is probably our last question today. You know, it's probably one of the most controversial questions you're gonna get asked, especially on our show.
Okay.
But I need to know who are your top 10 eighth graders coming in
You
and
know,
range. Do you have a list?
I think I've been watching eighth grade. I'll tell you a couple of the teams that have really good players. I think we've been one of the top teams, and we do it with our guys. We don't bring in guys to win a tournament. We have our guys that practice together. We stick together. We play together. I don't push my guys out to bring in some three kids from Georgia. So if I can just say their names, I got. Gabriel Cabrera on my team. We got Lucas Coleto. We have
Mm-hmm.
Crispin Dell, who's about 6'4", 6'5", and he's from Boca. He's going to be a big-time prospect. Ish Jeffrard, my son Julian Gonzalez, Makai Hill, Blaze Conco. We got Anthony Thomas, and we got Pierre Zorn. So we got 9 players right now in my program. And by the way, we got a couple directors' kids who I think are good players. I think Ben Bridges from Alliance, his son Isaiah, and what they're doing with Night Riders, and they have a big kid, Cannon Washington, who's a monster. He's going to be a big time Division One player. I think you had Eddie Rios on. I think his son's a really good player, and he has a really good 2030 team. So I think you look at the Miami Knights, you look at us, the Night Riders. Well, I think the Miami Knights is Rebels. I think he's under Rebels right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll get probably some of the top players there. One of my former players now that used to play with me, that plays now with Remy, is James Miles, who's a really good player. He's playing at Matter. I think he's going to play varsity at Matter this year. So
Mm-hmm.
those are some of the names I got for you for eighth grade. And I can send you a list. I'll think of some guys
I'm
and
gonna
I'll
need
send you
that.
a list of guys.
I'm gonna need that. You're gonna have a huge impact on our eighth grade rankings when it comes to Miami, man. I know everybody gets excited for the rankings, man. Me, I get a little anxious. It takes a little time to do, making sure everybody's in the right place, especially with me doing that, man. But the input from the high school coaches around the area is huge for me. You know what I'm saying? Your every vote counts, man. And I really, really, really appreciate you coming on, talking about. Is there anything else you want to input on the show and talk about? It's one more question I want to ask you too, but go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Ask me. Go ahead.
Um, I forgot to ask this question, but um, kids playing over their age in travel basketball. Is that something that's common that happens? Like a kid playing 13U and he's actually 15 or 16. Is that something common on an everyday basis that you have to deal with doing travel basketball or not?
Yeah. Well, the thing with basketball, and I tell people this all the time. My daughter plays soccer, and my daughter's in fourth grade. By the way, I think she's going to end up being a really good basketball player, but she's doing soccer for the most part, and they do it by the year that you're born. So if you're born in 2015, you play 2015. There's none of that. If you're a whole bag. So when you can literally play grade level as an older kid that was maybe held back, it gives those kids a huge advantage. And it could be very discouraging for the younger kid who's at grade level, who's, in the grade that they're supposed to be. That's the biggest part that can be discouraging to kids that are younger and smaller. And it gives a tremendous advantage. So my biggest thing when I look at it with my son is I want him, last year we were seventh grade, but we played eighth grade locally the whole time. We're playing up the entire time. And I think that made us better. So locally, we would always play up. And then nationally, we would, play grade level. And I think it really
Mhm.
helped us as a team to play at the right level for our team. To beat teams by 30, 35, 40 points, I just don't think you get better. I don't enjoy those games. I'd rather be in a competitive game and lose. Because at this age, when you talk about elementary and middle school, it's about developing the team and developing the kids. You got to play at the right level of competition. I think too many teams, too many programs are hung up on winning and social media and blowing everybody out by 30 and the rankings, which I think it's great, but everybody has their own philosophy. I like to compete, and I like to play older kids, and that's why we joined the FIU team camp to play against JV teams, and we had success there, beating some JV teams, and that's why I'd like to, I want my kids playing against ninth and 10th graders, so by the time they get to high school, they can compete against kids that are 2 and 3 years older.
What we're gonna do, we're gonna try to add some JV teams to our team camp so we can get you in there and so you guys can compete at the highest level. Is there anything you want to add? Talking about your academy, your business, and all the stuff that you do is for the South Florida community and basketball. Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, guys, Miami Hoops camp.com. That's our website. We run, 5 or 6 weeks of camp during the summer. We do it at iMatter, which is in Hialeah. Right now we have teams all the way from 2nd grade to 9th grade. We are looking for a couple kids, if they're in 2nd or 3rd grade, we got some spots available there. And I'm also I have 3 8th grade teams, and we're looking for, we probably can add about maybe 3 or 4 kids. For 8th grade in particular, we're looking for bigger kids. You're looking for, forwards and centers, bigger kids. We got a lot of guards, but anybody that wants to try out for one of our teams, they're welcome to call me or go to our website and get our information at miamihoopscamp.com. And we're willing to take a look at kids if they think they're ready to really compete at a high level competitively, or even if they're transitioning from rec to competitive. Give us a call, and if we have a spot and if it fits, then we'll make it happen. So just feel free to hit us up anytime, especially for summer camp. Summer camp, we want to pack the gym and get everybody in there and having fun. Summer's about having fun and building the love for the game. But they're always welcome to hit us up, and we'd love to give everybody an opportunity to come into our gym and learn from our coaches.
Well, shout out to Coach Orlando Gonzalez, one of the travel basketball gods out here, who's doing a great job with the kids in the community, man. I believe in everything that you're doing. I believe in all the stuff, all the teams that you have, and all the coaches that you have, man. You keep doing what you're doing, and we wish you nothing but blessings and success.
Hey, Coach, thank you so much. And it's amazing what you're doing. And now I'm starting to get back into the high school thing. So I'm really going to be looking out, at the players that you're putting on these lists. And it's a great opportunity that you're giving those guys to get some exposure. And I think the goal is to give these guys a great experience. And hopefully, that these guys keep working hard and you give them the platform so that they can get looked at and have a chance to play college, which I think a lot of these kids want to do.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate you, man. You've been great. You have a good night, man. I got my little dog sitting here keep barking at me, man. And we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll see you soon.
All right, Coach. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, buddy.